Welcome to the Endo Belly Girl podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Chavez. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner and restorative wellness practitioner on a mission to change the way that we support women with endometriosis. Endo is a full-body disease that impacts your mind, body, and spirit in countless ways that aren't often addressed the way that women truly deserve. We are here to talk about all of it. Please keep in mind that the content of this show has been created for educational purposes only and should never be used as a replacement for medical diagnosis or treatment. Hey, my friend, welcome back to the Endo Belly Girl podcast. I'm Alyssa. I'm your host. I am a functional nutritionist specializing in endometriosis and super passionate about what I do. I love working with people. And so I am here to share all of the information that I have with all of you so that you can become the healthiest version of yourself, because there's so much that nutrition and lifestyle and whatnot can help with endometriosis. I really fully believe in that because I've seen it in myself and I've seen it in my clients and the people who I work with, and I wanted to bring that to more people, and that's why I have the podcast. So that's why we're all here, right? Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, 2 episodes ago, we talked all about magnesium, which is a fantastic mineral. It's so important for endo warriors. And so we really unpacked that and went into all the ins and outs of why magnesium is important. That was episode 47, which I will link in the show notes. But today, we are going to continue on this mineral journey because there's just so much to say and so much to think about when it comes to minerals. Minerals are these itty-bitty little compounds that have a massive impact on our bodies. So, today, let's take a deep dive on zinc. Zinc is another one of those minerals that's so powerful and so important for endometriosis, and another one that so many people are deficient in. I see it all the time. So today we will take a look at why zinc is important, what it does in your body, signs of deficiency to look out for, and also signs of excess, because that can happen too, and how to ensure that you are getting enough. So let's start out by looking at why zinc is important and what it actually does in your body. One of the major roles of zinc is supporting your immune function. Now, why is your immune function important for endometriosis? Well, actually, it's everything, because endometriosis is at its root an immune dysfunction. That inflammation that you experience, which those signs of inflammation typically include things like pain and fatigue, guess what? That's a sign of immune dysfunction. If you want a deeper dive on that, because I'm not going to super unpack the connection between immune system and endo today, but if you want a deep dive on that, there's 2 episodes I've done that really unpack that. The first one is episode 5, called What is Endometriosis Really? One of my early episodes where we really looked at what endometriosis actually is, which helps us to understand how to approach it. And more recently, episode 48, hey, that's the last episode, where I interviewed Dr. Sarah Wilson, a naturopathic doctor who really dove into the connection between endometriosis and the immune system and did a wonderful job. So you can definitely go check out that episode as well. I will also link to that in the show notes. And the cool thing is there's actually been a lot of research done on that topic. There's so much to learn. And for the most part, I think that even taking zinc for immune support is kind of a common thing, right? Because think about when you get a common cold, so many of us, I know I was taught this as a kid, although maybe I was just a more well-informed kid, I don't know, that when you start to get signs of a cold, that you take zinc right away, like within the first 48 hours. And it has been shown to reduce the severity and the longevity of a cold because it supports your immune system. And so, of course, supporting your immune system is something that we need as endo warriors. I'll give you kind of the short version, which is basically that our immune system should be going in and cleaning up those endometriosis lesions that grow in our bodies. And it's not. That's why they're there. So we definitely want some immune support to help our bodies to be able to take care of the processes that it's intended to take care of. Now, in addition to the immune system support, zinc is also needed for digestive juice production. And this is another important one. For my friends out there who are bloated, who have that endo belly going on, constipation, upset stomach, you may have lowered digestive juice function. I see it all the time, right? It's something that's just super, super common these days. And honestly, zinc deficiency is a big part of that, of why your body's just not able to produce the digestive juices that it needs. So zinc is a really important piece for that. Your body requires zinc to produce those digestive juices, especially HCl, which is the stomach acid, which we actually need. Contrary to popular belief, it is actually very necessary for our digestive system. Zinc also helps to maintain normal taste and smell. Now, this is an interesting one because there's a certain virus that I will not name that was going around circa 2020 and since then that for many people ended up or started out oftentimes with a loss of taste and smell, or I should say taste and or smell. Well, zinc may have been part of the picture with that, right? Because zinc is a mineral that helps to maintain normal taste and smell. Zinc also helps wounds to heal properly, right? So if you get a cut on your finger or something, the zinc helps with the wound healing process. But guess what? That's also true inside of your body, not just on the surface. Zinc is also involved in insulin production, which is involved in blood sugar management. It's involved in cell growth and development. It's super important in pregnancy for this reason. So you can start to see why we need zinc so much. There's a lot of things that zinc does in your body. Now, let's transition into how to tell if you are deficient in zinc. Are you actually getting enough in your body? And pretty typical, our body is really incredible and amazing at showing us what it needs and giving us some signs and symptoms. So symptoms of having low zinc in your body are things like having a weak immune system. Are you getting frequent illnesses and infections? Poor skin health. Having acne can actually be a sign of low zinc. Having blood sugar issues, having digestive discomfort, white spots on your fingernails. Everybody pull up your hand right now, unless maybe you're driving, then you should focus on what you're doing. Pull up your hand right now, look at your fingernails and check them out. Do you have white spots on your fingernails? I actually find myself looking at my fingernails all the time to check for white spots. And the cool thing is, I used to always have white spots, like always, and I never really thought much of it because who really thinks about that very much until I learned about that the white spots on your fingernails can relate to zinc deficiency, and then I started noticing it all the time. Nowadays, I'm looking at my fingernails now, I see one little white spot in the top corner of my thumbnail, and that's it, which is pretty cool because my hands used to not look like that at all. But fun fact, always interesting to look at. Are your nails also kind of cracked and brittle? Do they break easily? That can also be a sign of that zinc deficiency. And we talked before about how zinc is really important in wound healing. Well, if you get wounds and they're very slow to heal, like if you get a cut and it takes a really long time for that thing to heal, that can also be a sign of low zinc. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, I've got white spots all over my fingernails, Alyssa, and I have digestive issues, and I get sick all the time, and I've got acne. I must be low in zinc. I'm going to take all the zinc. I'm going to load my body up. I'm going to go the opposite extreme and get as much zinc in my body as I can. No, you absolutely can get too much zinc. It's one of those that has to be in balance. You don't want too little, but you don't want too much. You want to find that nice sweet spot, that Goldilocks zone for your zinc. The most common symptom of having too much zinc is getting a metallic taste in your mouth. So if you find that all of a sudden you just have this weird metallic taste and you're not sure where it's coming from, you might be getting too much zinc. And typically that comes from too much supplementation. Probably very hard to get too much zinc in your diet just through food, but you can definitely get too much zinc through supplementation. That's fairly easy to do in a large part because zinc is a part of a lot of multivitamins. And so sometimes if you're taking multiple multivitamins and different ones have zinc, and then, maybe we're also supplementing with zinc separately, then all of a sudden we're getting in way too much and you can start to develop that metallic taste in your mouth. Too much zinc can also lead to symptoms like nausea, dizziness, headaches, and upset stomach. So there's some other signs that can point towards too much zinc as well. Just something to be aware of. Now, when you're supplementing, which we will dive more into in a bit, you don't want to go above about 30 milligrams per day. And I say that really as kind of more of an upper limit. Not everybody's going to even need that much, but you don't want to go beyond that. So if you are taking multiple vitamins, and especially if you have multivitamins that have a lot of different nutrients in them, you might want to check that out and just see how much zinc in total you're getting in, if at all. Hey, my friend, if you are loving this information, I hope that you will join me for my upcoming live webinar, Thrive with Endo, Unlocking the Power of Functional Nutrition, on Thursday, August 15th. In this webinar, I will teach you how to break free from pain, fatigue, and even digestive distress using food, lifestyle, and a root cause approach through functional nutrition. This process has been a game changer for myself and so many of my clients, and I know it can be a game changer for you as well. That's happening on Thursday, August 15th, so be sure to register today to save your seat. You can register at www.endobellygirl.com/live, LIVE, and you can also find this link in the show notes. I can't wait to see you in there. All right, now we looked at some of the signs and symptoms of having a zinc deficiency, but I think one of the really important parts to be aware of is why you might be deficient in zinc. Because zinc doesn't just fall out of your body. It's used up in some fashion or another. And I think it's important to understand why, where that zinc deficiency might be coming from, so that we're not just supplementing with zinc because we're deficient in zinc. That's kind of just slapping a Band-Aid on the problem, but actually figuring out why your body is deficient in zinc in the first place is super interesting to take a look at. And there's a few reasons. It's like many things that go on in our body. It's not just one thing. There are several different things that we can look at as to what might be contributing to that. So first thing that I think is important to know is that zinc and copper, another mineral in your body, work antagonistically with each other. Meaning, when you have, for example, high copper in your body, that can end up leading to low zinc and vice versa. So if you have too much copper, that can lower your level of zinc. If you have too much zinc, that can lower your level of copper. And we don't want either of those to happen. We want those two minerals to be in balance because we need both. I'm not going to dig deep into copper today. That's an interesting nuance as well, especially for endo warriors who experience more period pain and things. I think copper is definitely something to consider, but we're not going to dive deep into that today. I think it's just good to know that those can work antagonistically with each other. because what that means for us is that excessive copper intake can impact the level of zinc that you have in your body. And that excess copper can come from things like, for example, do you have a copper IUD? Many people who have copper IUDs put in end up getting that copper and zinc ratio out of balance, where they have that excess copper going on. So that may be a consideration if that's something that you have in your body right now. Now, it doesn't mean you need to go run and get that copper IUD taken out right this second. Some people really get a lot of benefit from the copper IUD. It is non-hormonal, so it's all a give and take, right? But just something to be aware of, that if you are using that, you may need to think about some zinc supplementation to help offset. So just some things to think about. Also, do you have copper pipes that your water is being pulled through? Typically, that's going to be more common in an older home. I don't believe, to my knowledge, not that I'm any sort of expert in home building, but I don't believe they're still making a lot of copper pipes, ? I really don't know. I might be totally making that up. But something to look into. If you find that copper levels are high, you might want to look into what your water is being pulled through and or just what's being filtered out if you are filtering your water, which I highly recommend. There was also a fad, which I feel like has kind of fallen off the wagon now, which is probably a good thing for the most part. There was a thing going around for a while with copper water bottles being kind of popular. I think it was kind of a fringe thing. I don't think it was ever super mainstream. But if you're drinking out of copper all the time, that can also offset the amount of zinc in your body. Something to think about. And then, of course, are you taking supplements that have copper in them? That's a pretty easy thing to look at. Just check your supplement labels. Again, comes in a lot of multivitamins and things like that. Okay, so we talked zinc and copper. The other thing that is really key when it comes to getting enough zinc in your body is thinking about your diet. Because most zinc, dietary zinc, comes from animal sources. And that could include things like oysters, red meat, poultry, seafood. It's hard to get enough zinc without animal sources. There are some plant sources of zinc, but honestly, it's really challenging to get enough. And like anything, we come back to the conversation of bioavailability. So if you, for example, are following a vegan or vegetarian diet and you're not eating those animal sources of zinc, you're not getting in those food sources, you'll probably need to be supplementing with zinc. Just something to think about because, it can just be challenging to get enough in just through diet without eating meat. Oysters in particular are considered to be probably the highest source of zinc. They're super rich in zinc. I don't go out eating oysters every day. It's they're a little pricier, and it's not something I'm going to sit there and like prepare for a weeknight meal by any means. But I like it. For example, I went out to what was that? I guess it was our anniversary dinner. That was, at the time I'm recording this, was a few weeks ago or like a month ago. My husband and I went out for our anniversary. We went to this seafood kind of place in San Diego, which is about an hour from where we live. And I decided just for fun to get a little oyster shooter thing, which was fun. I enjoyed it. My husband thought it was weird and gross and wouldn't touch the oysters. So if you're on that boat, that's okay. It's not a requirement to eat oysters, but I'm just saying they are very rich in zinc. So maybe give it a try sometime and see how it goes. I think they're pretty tasty. Put a little squeeze of lemon on there. Delicious. Okay. Anyway, I digress. I must be hungry or something. All right. One of the other things that can contribute to zinc deficiency is, drumroll please, stress. Now, we talked about this in the magnesium episode as well, but the stress response also uses zinc. So if you're under a lot of stress, if you have high stress going on in your life, you're going to be burning through zinc faster. It's going to come into your body and then right back out because you're going through those resources very quickly. Another thing that can cause you to burn through zinc very quickly is birth control. Now, we talked before about the copper IUD and why that offsets zinc. I'm actually talking right now about the hormonal birth control. So that can be the pill or the patch or the ring or any of those various types of hormonal birth control. They come in many different forms. Something that's not often talked about, but hormonal birth control actually causes nutrient depletions. Quite a few different nutrients. There's a whole list, which I'm not going to unpack all of that today, but zinc is on that list, as is magnesium. Can't remember actually if I covered that in the magnesium episode. I might have mentioned it. If I didn't, I'll mention it now. But zinc and magnesium are both some of those essential nutrients that birth control kind of depletes along the way. Now, I find this topic to be super interesting, and I think it's something that all women need to be aware of, because I know I was put on birth control at a young age, didn't really think much of it because it's so common, and had no understanding of its impacts on my body for many, many years. So not saying, pro-birth control or anti-birth control. I think that's a decision that every woman needs to make for themselves, make the best decision for your own body. But I do very much believe in informed consent, meaning that you are making a fully informed decision. You know all the pros and cons, and you are making a decision based on that information. Now, we did take a deep dive on birth control in episode 28, where I interviewed Crystal Felice, who is a fellow nutritionist, but also a former pharmacist. So she has a lot of wonderful information. She has a really interesting perspective on that, and we had a great conversation. So I'll link that one in the show notes as well. We're going to have a busy show notes today because there's just a lot of related episodes that you could definitely dive into. Now, if you're getting too much zinc, like we talked about before, definitely check in on your multivitamins, see if there is zinc in your supplements. Maybe you're just supplementing with zinc too much. If you don't have any zinc in your supplements, you may also want to think about other sources. And the other one that comes to mind is topical sources like sunscreen. If you're somebody who uses a natural sunscreen, not one of the super chemically kind, but one of the more natural kind, oftentimes it has zinc in it, which is fine if you're using it once in a while. Like for me, I tend to use that sunscreen like when I'm going to be at the beach all day or out on the water. I love going out kayaking and stuff. So if I'm going to be out on the water a whole lot, I'll put some sunscreen on for sure because I am very pale and I do burn very easily. However, if you're using that stuff every day, so I know some people just put sunscreen on every day. Not something I would recommend either, but that's a different topic for another day. That can definitely impact your level of zinc and kind of getting too much in your body. So another thing to think about. Now, I gave you some of the signs and symptoms of having too much zinc or too little zinc, but the best way to know really, of course, is to test and check things out. Blood tests aren't great for zinc. There's not really a good source for that because it's just you don't really have the zinc circulating in your blood the same way you do some certain other nutrients. My favorite way to test as far as getting that data on paper is a hair trace mineral analysis, or HTMA, which I did talk about during the magnesium episode as well. It's something that I like to use with my clients. I feel like it gives some really interesting information. And it also lets you look at the mineral balance and ratios. So not just the individual minerals, but you're looking at the ratios. In particular, in this instance, thinking about zinc and copper, and if they're in balance with each other. And when you're testing the hair like that, you're actually looking at a 3-month history of your minerals, which I find to be super interesting. So, pretty cool little test. Another thing that you can do, which I wanted to mention as well, this is something that I also have my clients do sometimes, and I'll do for myself, is that you can also get liquid zinc, like an aqueous zinc, hold it in your mouth for about 30 seconds, and do a little taste test. Because just tasting that zinc can actually give you an idea of whether you need it or not. So if you are tasting the zinc liquid, or some people will even do the same idea with a zinc lozenge. That's an idea, but I find it easier to do with the liquid zinc. If you're tasting that and you don't really taste anything, it kind of just tastes mostly like nothing, that probably means that you need more zinc. However, if you taste that zinc and you're getting that metallic taste in your mouth, that can give you an idea that you're getting enough or maybe even too much. So there you go. That's something that I actually like to do on a regular basis myself, just to kind of check in on that. So, fun fact. All right. Definitely something that's going to be important to touch base on today is just how to ensure that you're getting enough zinc in your body. And step one for that, of course, is going to be looking into food sources. Always a food first approach. Are you eating red meat and poultry? Goodness, I'm having trouble with words today. Poultry, maybe the oysters, if you're an oyster kind of girl, and seafood. Right? Various types of seafood can be high in zinc as well. So definitely use that first, always the food first. And then step two, supplement if necessary. You want to start low and then increase from there. Now, of course, with supplementing, sourcing matters, the form matters. So something to think about. You don't want to grab just any old zinc supplement off of a shelf in the grocery store. Not all supplements are created equal. I really took a deep dive with one of my colleagues and mentors, Kate Mahoney, on an episode not too long ago, and I can even tell you which one that is in just a second. I didn't actually put that in my notes because I wasn't planning to put it in my show notes, but can always add it in here. That was episode 36, looking into supplements with Kate Mahoney. Super interesting stuff. If you want to learn more about supplement quality, it's quite a wide world, but just to give you an idea, for zinc, you want to be thinking about taking forms that are going to be bioavailable. So looking at the type of zinc that you're taking, the most bioavailable form are going to be either a zinc that has an amino acid chelate, meaning it's attached to an amino acid. So that can be one of the common ones that I see is zinc biglycinate, is a very bioavailable form. You can also look at food forms. So sometimes you'll see like a zinc that's just extracted straight from oysters, for example. That can be a good form to take. Zinc carnosine is a good option. Zinc gluconate is a good option. 10 milligrams a day can be a good starting point, and then you can always work your way up to, 30 milligrams a day. You really don't want to go past that, because you can overdose or get too much in your body. Overdose is maybe too strong of a word, but you can definitely do too much. All right, my friend, I hope this was helpful for you. I think zinc is such an amazing mineral. We all know that I'm a big nerd, but even still, it's pretty awesome. It does so much for your body. I always have some zinc on hand. It's something that I take, maybe not every single day at this point in time. I was for a while, but something that I rotate in and make sure that I'm trying to get enough in my body through supplements, through food, all of the things. So if you find it interesting how nutrients can support your body, I hope you will join me tomorrow, if you're listening live, or live in real time, because this podcast, of course, isn't published live, but you know what I mean, on the day that it was published, because I'm going to be hosting a free webinar on Thursday, August 15th, and I'm going to be unpacking everything you need to know about functional nutrition, how it can support you as an endo warrior. It's going to be jam-packed and awesome, and I hope to see you there. I will put the link in the show notes to register. All right, my friend, I had so much fun being with you here today. I really love recording this podcast. I hope that you're enjoying it as much as I do. Please feel free to reach out anytime. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you have any questions, any particular topics that you would like to hear covered. You can find me anytime on Instagram at endobellygirl, and I hope to see you there. Much love. Thank you so much for joining me today, my friend. If you loved what you heard, be sure to share with a friend and subscribe so that you can keep coming back for more. If you are ready to take the next step towards getting to the root cause of your endo symptoms like endo belly, pain, fatigue, and so much more, you need to download my free ultimate guide to building your own endometriosis diet. You can find the link in the show notes or at www.endobellygirl.com. Until next time, my friend.